Many of you know Mike Canaro and Judy Green, who have been some of our snowbirds that have been coming here year after year for many years, long before I came to be your pastor. On March 31st this year, Mike and Judy invited me over to their home at Poipu Shores, where they hang out during the winter months from the state of Washington, where they are the rest of the year, at least most of the time. And they just wanted to invite me over for dinner out on their lanai, and they invited a couple friends, Jeff and Denise, and Mike's daughter was on the island, Lizzie, from Chicago, and I was able to go. I was thrilled. So it was one of those evenings that was just magical in just about every way imaginable. It was a perfect sunset evening. The sun was setting over the ocean. You could see Lanai. The sun was out. It wasn't raining, actually. It was perfect. And they had hired Chef Tom Ryan from the island to bring a catered seafood meal. And I don't know if you know who Tom Ryan is, but he is one of those over-the-top, phenomenal chefs who's been trained in culinary institutes in Vermont and Torino, Italy. And he brings everything. The tablecloth, the wine glasses, the silver, everything's taken care of. And when he leaves, your kitchen is cleaner than it probably ever has been since it was built. So anyway, I just felt so blessed to be able to go and enjoy this meal with everything was just all taken care of. And the conversation was just wonderful. I got to talk about Montana with Jeff and Denise, and they knew places that I knew of that I normally don't run into people on Kauai that know those places, and vice versa. And then Lizzie actually was from Chicago, and I asked her about the neighborhood she lived in, and as soon as she told me the street coordinates, I thought, oh, I know exactly your neighborhood. You're by the Chicago Theater, which is one of my favorite theaters for concerts in the country. It was just almost bizarre how we just had all these connections. So anyway, we just had a wonderful, wonderful evening. The meal was fantastic. Just listening to the waves kind of crash against the rocks all evening long. Everything was perfect. Well, as I was leaving, I realized that the gift that I had given Judy and Mike when I arrived was still sitting on the counter unopened. And I kind of wanted to see them open the gift before they left that week, because they were leaving the island. And so I said, well, would you like to see what's in the gift? And so Judy walked over there and she opened the envelope, and I had given them a set of some of my greeting cards from my floral watercolors, and I thought she was going to cry. She was just so moved, and she said, I love Hawaiian flowers. This was like the perfect gift for you to give me. So anyway, of course that made me feel really, really good, because I had painted those flowers. Well, the next Sunday, just a few days later, Mike and Judy were sitting right here, and Judy had been coming in a wheelchair because she had a sore hip, and she said, this is our last Sunday, and I just want to tell Koloa Union Church how much you've meant to me, and I don't know what's going on with my hip, but we're going to go get it taken care of. We're heading back to Washington this week, and we committed to them that we would pray for her and them during this time. To my great dismay, on Sunday morning, May 1st, I got an email from Mike saying that Judy had died the night before, and I shared that with the congregation, and we all had heavy hearts, and those of us that knew Judy well were especially just extremely sad over this. It wasn't the hip. She actually had a lung disease that got infected and very rapidly just took her life. So what I didn't know this previous week was that, or the week before that, was that Judy was in the hospital, and I had contacted National Tropical Botanical Gardens when I realized their big event was coming up in August, their big fundraiser, and they were looking for people to donate items for their auction. So I just sent an email and said, here's some of my watercolors. I'd love to donate a print. Well, the day before, or actually it was the day that Judy died, I got an email back from the chairperson of the auction over at NTBG, and she said, we would love to have one of your prints. We really appreciate it. Well, the next morning when I heard that Judy had died, the wheels started spinning in my head, and I thought, I think if I invite a few more people to help out, we can make this gift much bigger. And I want to give something in Judy's name and let Mike know about it. So the first thing I did is I contacted Chef Tom, who provided a wonderful meal that night. And I let him know that Judy had just died. And I said, I've got this idea. If you're interested, let me know. But I would like to host whoever buys the print to the parsonage where I live and make it like dinner with the artist and a gourmet seafood meal. And I'm going to tell you what he wrote back to me when he got my email. He said, I love your idea to honor Judy at the Botanical Gardens Gala. I would be honored to donate a seafood catered meal for 4 or 5 people. So I was excited. I thought, okay, what else can I do? So I went over to Christian Riso Art Gallery. Christian does all my framing for me, and he is one of my favorite framers in the country. I've had art framed for years, and I love the work he did. So I told him about this idea, and he said, well, why don't I just donate the frame? I'll put together a really nice frame that will make this painting pop, and I'll do that. So anyway, once I decided on the painting, I was getting the printing done by my friend Kim in Kalaheo, who owns the printmaker. And she said, well, if you guys are all going to do that, I'm going to donate the print. And then I thought, wait a minute, right now, I'm not donating anything except for my time. I feel like I need to put, something else in there. So I thought, oh, I know. So everybody that comes to dinner, all 4 people, they're going to get a stack or a little gift of my greeting cards of the endemic species of Hawaiian flowers that I've been focusing on for the last year and a half. That's all I've been really painting lately is flowers that grow only in Hawaii, and some that only grow in the wild on Kauai. So anyway, I got back to this lady, Suzanne, who was the chair of the auction, and her first response to me was, oh my gosh, I have chicken skin. This is amazing, and of course we would love to do this in Judy's honor. So anyway, it just keeps getting better and better. I actually wrote some notes down because as I was going over the email strings that have been bouncing back and forth these last couple of weeks especially, I thought, I just want to read some of this to you because I know I'm not going to remember all the details, and it really is special how all this kind of came together. So 2 weeks ago was the event, and I was able to attend, and somebody who I didn't really know, I didn't think, was the highest bidder. And I know that there were some people bidding back and forth, but I found out that a lady by the name of Patricia was the top bidder. I also found out someone in this church was bidding, but I'm not going to go there. But anyway, Suzanne is the name of the person that was the chair of the auction, and she said in an email to Mike, so this is Judy's husband, and an email to me as well, we are most grateful for this gift and wanted you to know of the many hearts in which Judy's spirit lives. Well, Mike was so moved by this email, he decided to forward it out to all of his friends that he had emails for that were his closest friends that knew Judy well. And this is what he said in his email. I want to share with all of you this wonderful and so meaningful event in Judy's memory. Judy so loved Kauai, especially the Poipu area, that I cannot imagine anything better. Well, Mike had no idea that one of the close friends that he was sending this email out to was Patricia, who was the highest bidder. So anyway, Patricia's in the Costco parking lot in Lihue, and her phone rings, or, she gets the beep or whatever, that she's got an email, and she reads it, and she's in the Costco parking lot in Lihue, crying, and thinking, oh, I hope people aren't looking at me, but she just said, I just started crying, I couldn't help it, I just felt so moved that I was a part of this, and it meant so much to Mike. So then Patricia somehow got a hold of my email and was so moved that she wrote to me. She wrote this wonderful email introducing herself, and she and I actually met 2 weeks ago at the event. And once she said that, I realized who she was. And then she said that she's the manager of the condos at Poipu Shores where Mike and Judy have been coming for year after year after year, and Mike had no idea that she was the winner of the highest bidder, and it just made her feel so very, very good. And then it gets better. She wrote this. She said, by the way, my husband, Tom Bean, who I found out recently is Karen's neighbor, wrote the opinion letter in the Garden Island newspaper about the beautiful work being done at your church. So she's talking about a letter to the editor on July 10th that I read to you that morning, because it was a Sunday morning, and I usually don't have time to read the newspaper on Sunday mornings, go figure, I've got other things on my mind. But a couple people actually brought me the article and said, look, somebody, who is this? Who is this? Somebody wrote, this great note about our church. And so I read it in church that Sunday, and I know not all of you were here, so I'm going to read it again, just so you know, this wonderful letter that a stranger to me wrote about our church because he drives by here all the time. And we hadn't even planted most of the plants yet. This is back July 10th. We may have had a couple trees planted by then, but the parking lot was done and it was starting to look good. So this is the letter to the editor in the Garden Island by Tom Bean. Mahalo to the pastor and the entire congregation of Koloa Union Church for the beautiful upgrade they just finished up. While enhancing their parking lot, they were kind enough to offer a wonderful gift to the Koloa town community with a major construction and tree trimming project that added a lovely and much needed sidewalk along the entire front of the property. And he goes on, it makes a much safer place for children walking to Koloa Elementary School and the library. The work was done in a first-class manner, and everyone passing by benefits from the church's generosity to the community. Koloa Town has long needed a proper sidewalk along Koloa Road. Could this be the inspirational beginning of a long overdue sidewalk all the way to the traffic circle? Tom Bean, Koloa. So after I read this letter to the church that morning on Sunday, I said something like, I have no idea who this person is, but I'd sure like to meet him someday. Well, guess what? He's coming over for dinner with his wife and two friends. But then Patricia, in her email, she closed it with these words that I thought were just really special. The circumstances that surround this whole situation are just incredible, and I am grateful to have been a part of the donation to NTBG, the Botanical Gardens. An incredible place that gives so much to so many people. It means even more knowing that it held a special place in Judy's heart, and that my donation will continue to help the work there. And then, just last week, one more email I'm going to share with you. An email that was sent both to Mike Canaro and to me from, I got to think here. This was, Mike sent this email to Suzanne and me. Suzanne, again, is the chairperson of the auction at the last the event 2 weeks ago. So Mike says this, and this is really special. Dear Suzanne and Alan, what can I say? I was so taken aback by both of your wonderful emails that I received on Friday. I didn't know Suzanne was emailing him at the time. She didn't know I was. On the same day, pretty much the same time, we're both emailing him to letting him know what had happened the week before at the event. And he said, I just had to sit and read both of them over and over. Needless to say, there were plenty of tears as I read and relived so many of the great memories Judy and I had experienced through the 11 years we were able to visit and enjoy Kauai together, especially Poipu and Koloa Union Church. And then she went on to say in her emailing, or he went on to say, I am so grateful to you two and Chef Tom for doing this and enhancing my many beautiful memories of the great times and wonderful, kind, generous people Judy and I were so fortunate to meet during our years visiting Poipu. Friday evening, I received a telephone call from Patricia Bean. Judy and I have known Patricia and her husband Tom for many years, And when Patricia told me that it was she who made the top bid, I shed some more tears. Just know how much I and Judy's family appreciate what you have done to honor her memory. Mahalo, Mike Canaro. As I have been pondering these events over the past few weeks, and reading and rereading these emails, I had to share them with you. And it's also been occurring to me over and over again how when somebody simply blesses someone with nothing else expected in return, the blessing always comes anyway. Mike and Judy weren't expecting anything from me or the other guests when they invited us over for dinner. They didn't know that was the last time we could all be together. They were just being kind, because that's the kind of people they are. And when I thought, well, I'm going to donate a gift to National Tropical Botanical Gardens, it didn't seem like that big of a deal to me. But as I realized, if I include other people in the gift, it becomes so much bigger, and the blessings just keep going out more and more. And I'm just honored to have been a part of that. It seems to me that in this morning's scripture passage, when Jesus was talking about blessings, that's exactly what he was talking about. I think I'm actually going to read, it's a very short passage that Rosemary read this morning, but I think it would be important just to read the passage in its entirety again, because I want it to sink in. I want you to really think about it. So Jesus said to the one who had invited him to the dinner, when you give a luncheon or a dinner, do not invite your friends or your brothers or your relatives or your rich neighbors in order that they would invite you in return so that you can get repaid. But rather, when you give a banquet or invite somebody over for dinner, invite the poor, the crippled, the lame, the blind, and you will be blessed, because they can't repay you. For you will be repaid at the resurrection of the righteous. And what Jesus is getting at here is, as followers of Jesus, we shouldn't always be thinking, well, what can I do for somebody else so that I'll get something in return? But rather, how can I just share God's love with others, even if they're not capable at all of giving me anything back? Because you know what? You will still be blessed no matter what. When you bless others, you will be blessed. And then there's that part at the end where Jesus talks about you'll be blessed at the resurrection of the righteous. And some people interpret that to mean like when you die, you'll receive the blessing. And, you know, Jesus may have meant part of that. I can't tell you that I know that for sure because I haven't been there yet. But I do know in this life, when I bless other people, even in simple little ways, I get a blessing back simply because it feels good to bless other people. I wanted to share a couple of things with you in closing, and Rosemary over there actually is sitting next to my the original that I donated in Judy's name. So this is actually the original that Patricia ended up being the highest bidder for, and I've asked Rosemary just to hold it up and kind of show it to everybody around here, because I'm a visual person. Obviously I'm an artist, and I know that when I see something, I'm more likely to remember. So, does anybody know what these flowers are? Have you ever seen these? I'm going to give you a clue. They grow on a tree, and before the late 18th century, early 19th century, there were hundreds of thousands of these trees all over the islands. Anyone want to guess? Sandalwood. Iliahi. I have traveled almost every island, and I've been looking for this tree with the blossoms, and I've only seen it once on the Big Island, and I've been told that there's a couple on Kauai, but every one of these blossoms is about that big. You see that? It's just tiny. So one of the things that I like to do is find little flowers and show what they look like from kind of a bug's eye view, so that you can actually see the flower. And most people, even if you've lived on Kauai your whole life, they've never seen this flower. And part of my passion has become to show people the beautiful flowers of Hawaii that used to be everywhere, but because of human activity, we just don't have the opportunity to see those so much anymore. So this was very much like the gift, thank you, Rosemary, that Patricia and her husband ended up getting. But I wanted to share that with you because I want you to remember that. And when you see the word Iliahi or sandalwood, I hope you'll remember Judy and Mike. And the other thing is, you may have noticed a little basket up here. Most of you know that I do greeting cards. And doggone it, the printer made a mistake. And there's a little white line over here. And so I let them know about that. And so they just sent me like another 25 or 50 greeting cards, and I can't use these. So if anybody would like to take one of these, I think I've got between 25 and 30 of them up here. This is a gift to you just so that you can remember when you see this card, every single time you bless somebody else, you will receive a blessing. And if you don't think so, and you don't think that's what Jesus meant, if you think he just meant like when you get to heaven you'll receive the blessing, then I challenge you to spend this next month blessing as many people as you can without expecting anything in return, and look for the ways that you are blessed and the ways that you feel blessed by doing that. That's my challenge to you, and I'm eager next month to hear if you have received blessings by blessing others. Not if, but how. Thank you.